What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Economic Events. Today I'm going to be reading an article from yahoo.com. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon suspects Fed may not be done raising rates amid stickier inflation. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon cautioned that the Federal Reserve might raise interest rates by up to 75 basis points due to persistent inflation. So right now, right now, the federal funds rate is at 5.25% to 5.5%. So he's anticipating it going to 6% to 6.25%. That's at the time of recording this video, which businesses should brace for. He emphasized that despite the Fed's decision to maintain rates, there could be further hikes to combat inflation's lasting impact, warning of a probable scenario where rates climb higher by 25, 50, or even 75 basis points. Dimon expressed concern about inflation being more persistent than anticipated and attributed to a combination of fiscal and monetary stimulus over the years, along with a tighter labor market. So he's blaming inflation being higher on the amount of money they printed during COVID, which is very accurate. They printed, I think it was like $4 trillion, which is apparently 40% of the total money supply ever in circulation was printed just in 2020 to the middle of 2021. He's also talking about a tighter labor market, meaning the unemployment is historically low now compared to the last 50, 60 years, whatever. I think it's at like 3.9%, 3.8%. Now, it has been inching up higher in the last several reports, so you never know what the market is kind of waiting on, and even possibly Jerome Powell, Fed chairman, is waiting on is he's probably waiting to see how the numbers look for Q4 of 2023, which would be October, November, and December. You know, Black Friday, there's deals there, then there's post-Christmas shopping, and obviously, you know, people are buying gifts for each other, whether it's inflation or not. So he's probably waiting to see how those numbers look. I'm sure of those, because Jerome Powell, for some reason, is going based off of people spending. Is kind of what's his indication of a strong labor market or a strong economy, which isn't necessarily true because, like I said before, if in 2022 you bought a case of or a dozen eggs for $4.99, and in 2023 you buy that same dozen eggs for $7.99 or $8.99, whatever, the price doubles or close to doubles. It doesn't mean that you're better financially because you're spending more money. It just means you have to spend more money. So I'm not sure what the Fed chairman is doing with that, but that's his strategy. I'm picking that up based off of what he's talking about. So it doesn't necessarily make sense to me. If you're spending more money, it doesn't mean that you're making more money or you're strong enough to make more money or you're strong enough to spend more money. It just means that you have no choice. You need food on the table. You need to pay for your mortgage and your rent and all that and your car notes to get to work and back. It doesn't mean that you can afford it. It just means you have no choice. You need to do it. So I guess as he sees, if people were spending quote unquote well or a lot during the fourth quarter, that's going to make him want to raise rates more. And if they don't spend as he anticipates, they're probably going to lower rates or keep rates where they are for at least the time being. So they may even start cutting rates before the 2024 election. You never know. His warnings about a potential surge in rates align with his long-standing concerns about financial risk taken while rates were low, specifically in highlighting dangers posed by the Fed's quantitative tightening. So his concern is when interest rates were zero or near zero, which for a long time they were at 0% to 25 basis points, a quarter of a percent, however way you want to put it. And people were just spending money like crazy back then. You know, you're taking out all these luxurious vacations. You're taking out. You're buying all these nicer cars. All you cared about at the time is my monthly payment on my brand new Mercedes S-Class 500. Is it $499 a month, or is it $999 a month? I'll take the $499 a month. I don't care if the interest rate's higher or whatever, or it's the money's cheap, whatever. I'll go ahead and just let me afford the monthly payment. I'm good. That's what he's talking about there. And then he's talking about specifically highlighting dangers posed by the Fed's quantitative tightening, which quantitative easing is when they're putting more money. The Federal Reserve is putting more money out into circulation for the markets to spend and all that. Whereas with quantitative tightening, they're not printing money, so they're keeping the money supply scarce, if you will, which is gonna, I guess, to them, lower inflation if there's less money out there. Or maybe even Congress spends less money. That'd be another way to, because if they're raising rates continuously like this, but Congress is not lowering their budget and shrinking their balance books to break even, or at least get a budget surplus, then what's the point of raising all these rates? It's just it's hurting you and I. It's not affecting Congress. It's not affecting even this J.P. Morgan Jamie Dimon. It's not affecting him either. I mean, possibly it may be affecting his company because he is the CEO of a bank, and when there's higher interest rates, it's harder for you to loan out money because you get less applicants. And when you get less applicants, you get less approvals and all that stuff. So you're not doing as well. So there's that negative effect too. J.P. Morgan, well prepared for higher rates, has already navigated the impacts of range changes, effectively positioning itself more conservatively compared to some rivals that took on higher risk when rates were lower. Okay, and what they're referring to there is when the federal interest rates were low or near zero, all these financial gurus, money managers, whatever you want to call them, they were putting their money into United States Treasury bonds at 1.5% interest or 1.25% interest, because this was money that they were getting from, Bobby or Ashley, depositing that money into their bank. Let's just say Bank of America, hypothetically, and then Bobby deposited $10,000 and Ashley deposited $10,000. Now Bank of America's got this $20,000. They don't know what to do with it, so they went ahead and put it into these Treasury bonds at 1.5%, thinking, I'm going to get all this quote unquote free money from them. So through these government-backed bonds, and what they did not anticipate was that when they bought these 30-year Treasury bonds, that United States Federal Reserve would raise interest rates through such a rapid time. We're talking about in the last 18 months, they've raised it from, again, 0% to 0.25% to now 5% to 5.5%. So they've raised by over 500 basis points. That's a huge increase in 18 months. And now those same Treasury bills, instead of paying 1.5%, they're paying, let's say, like 5.5%, 4%, 4.5%, whatever. And for example, Bank of America, I don't know if they actually did this. So Bank of America, don't come after me for saying this about you. You just happen to be the first bank I thought of. So I don't know if you're actually doing this, but typically, if that's the case, then what would happen is Bank of America would be on they'd be underwater with these things. So just because they got these these 1.5% or 1.5% Treasury bonds, when Treasury bonds currently are 4.5%, 4%, whatever. So that would be what causes them to lose money. So be at higher risk than like a J.P. Morgan or whatever. They probably didn't do as much long-term Treasury bonds. Despite this preparedness, Diamond cautioned that the scenario might expose others who are unprepared for the impact of elevated rates, which is exactly what I was just describing to you about a minute ago, with like Bank of America, for example, or Regions, whatever, Wells Fargo, whatever bank you wanna fill that name in, so you go ahead and you deposit money into those bank accounts, those companies, and they're not just gonna leave that money laying around there. So they're gonna go ahead and pay you 0.1% interest rate on your savings account. They're gonna go ahead and loan it out at that Treasury bond, 30-year fix for 1.5%. So right away they're getting 1.4% free money on your money that you get put in their bank. So that's what happened earlier in the year with a lot of these bank runs that they had, where the Federal Reserve had to bail out some of these banks again. So that's an issue with what happened there. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell icon. That way you get notified every time I post a new video. I do read and try to reply to all the comments. I don't always get a chance to, but I definitely do read them, and I'm looking forward to what you guys have to say about it. Hope you all enjoyed this. I'll catch you all later.